Welcome to What the Fuck Do You Do? We got a really great episode today. I'm your co-host Shrey Bay. We got Justin Jawong Dong.
What's up?
T Foxy Trav is actually out of town today, so it's just us two.
Just the boys.
Yeah.
Double date.
How you feeling, man?
I'm good. It's Halloween season. It's spooky season around New York right now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, just disclaimer, when we actually release this, it'll be a little bit later, so we actually recorded this back in Halloween, so just for you people who are wondering why the fuck are they talking about Halloween, this is why.
Happy New Year, everyone. Hope everyone had a great holidays.
Yeah, Halloween. So what do you do for Halloween?
I'm not into Halloween that much. I've been going to a lot of Halloween things this week, but it's candidly it's not my favorite holiday.
Yeah, when is the last time you dressed up? I feel like I've actually never seen you in costume since I've been in New York.
The last time I've definitely been to more Halloween, like non-Halloween related costume parties. And I think that's kind of where I'm liking things nowadays. Like I don't like Halloween because everyone's dressed up, but if there's a theme costume party, I'm into that way more now than I was back in the day.
Why?
I just don't think I like Halloween, dude. I feel old in New York.
I have like the complete I feel like I wasn't into it when I was younger, and now I'm more into it as an adult.
Did you not have cool costumes growing up?
I feel like late teens to early 20s, I was in that like,
Too cool?
I feel like I'm too cool for this. And like people who were like getting really into it, I was like, oh, like kind of weird. But I feel weird not leaning into it. Like it's just kind of like, like you think you're too cool to like do anything for Halloween.
I don't feel like I'm too cool to do Halloween by any means. I don't get the joy that other people get on Halloween. Like to be honest, like being in a bar in a itchy, scratchy costume for me is not my favorite thing.
I think you need to get the right costume. Okay, here's what I actually will agree.
I need your costume.
Yeah, I went as a firefighter, which was a pretty good costume.
I heard people loved it.
Dude, firefighter costume, epic riz. It's just an automatic game changer.
Is it?
I think so.
Take us through it.
So, okay, my friend, it was his birthday, and he was doing a Halloween party at this bar. Mm-hmm. And in the invite, it was slutty, sexy costumes encouraged. So as a guy,
who's this friend?
I was like, well, I don't know what's a sexy costume? I was like, firefighter.
Nothing sluttier.
Yeah. Nothing slutty, but sexy. I feel like firefighters are sexy.
Not slutty?
Are firefighters slutty?
More than cops.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like people thirst after firefighters more than cops.
Right.
Yeah.
No one has. Remember, like growing up, people had like calendars of firefighters or like bikini models. Like that was a thing, right? I don't know why that's a thing, but it's absolutely a thing.
Then the internet came and people were like, "Why do I have a fucking calendar?" Yeah. So I like got this costume. It was like off Amazon. It was like $30, and it had like the full firefighter pants, like the suspenders, like a little fire chief bucket hat or whatever.
Okay.
And then it was like an actual like New York firefighter shirt. So it kind of looked like I was an off-duty firefighter.
Kind of sounds like stolen valor.
And what was funny, so like at the party, like everyone's dressed up and we're all having a good time. But when I was walking back home, which I think when you're walking back home in a Halloween costume, that's when I feel like this is dumb. Like I don't feel like the party's over. I don't want to be dressed up. I just want to be normal.
I want to get this shit off me.
I feel like everyone's like looking at you, especially if you're walking through a neighborhood where like people are not dressed up at all.
Right.
But I was walking back and like, I don't know. There's a few people who were like, "Ooh, I like your costume."
You got catcalled.
Yeah.
How'd it feel?
Felt good. I like being objectified. Yeah, I was like walking down Houston Street. There was like these two girls who were sitting outside this bar. Mm-hmm. And this one girl, she was just like, "Oh my God, I love your costume." So I kind of like peeled back and she was just like, "Where are you coming from? Are you straight?" And I'm like, "I'm coming from West Village. I am straight." She's telling her friend, "You need to get his number now. Like, I just love everything about this.
Oh,
right
she
here.
wasn't interested for her. She was interested for her friend.
I don't know. I mean, she asked how old I was, and I was like, I'm 30. And she was like, okay, I'm like mid to late 30s. And then she just like, I don't know. She had like a very aggressive vibe. She like started smoking a cigarette, and then she was like, "You get his number now." And I was like, "Okay." And then this girl was like, "Okay, like chill, chill." And then,
Did this other girl want your number?
I don't know. And what was funny is like, this girl I think was a lot younger than this other girl, so it was kind of like,
Was it her mom?
no, 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 no. They like used to work together.
Got it.
So they're coworkers. But then she took me inside this bar, and then it was like an influencer event.
Oh, perfect for you.
Yeah. She asked me, so like I did end up getting her number, but she asked me like, what's your Instagram? I'm like, I actually don't have Instagram downloaded on my phone. And she was like, okay, well, do you have like TikTok? And I'm like, no. And I could just like feel the disappointment.
You do have a TikTok. It's the pod TikTok.
That's not my TikTok.
It's
though.
our TikTok.
And also, I'm not like on TikTok. You're on TikTok.
No. If you look at the clips, you're on TikTok.
Yes, I guess my face is out there. But yeah, I don't know. But it was just kind of like, it's like a very influencer type. But she was like introducing me to all these people. Someone had their own mezcal at this thing. And I'm like,
Of course they did.
who? Yeah, like who? There's a DJ, of course. And I was like on my way home. And I was like, I'll just take your number and then I'm just gonna go home. I don't really want to like stay here and take shots with you guys. But yeah, the firefighter costume. It's got some pull.
Can't throw that one away, Shrey. You got to wear that. That's a repeat. You
Yeah.
might have to wear this on non-Halloween days.
Just off-duty firefighter walking through New York.
Just lean into the bit. Apply to be a firefighter.
That would be
Start over.
That would be a really wild turn for my family.
For your family.
They'd be like, Shrey's a firefighter now?
I think, would they be proud of you?
If they were like, if that's what you like, yeah.
Better than a cop.
Yeah, I think they would be like really concerned about.
If you just up and became a cop?
Yeah. Actually, one of my cousins, her like son, when he was younger, he was like, I really want to be a police officer. And we're like, no, you don't. You really don't. But you'll learn. I do think though with Halloween, I feel like the costumes that I like to wear are not involved. Like
subtle?
Yeah, like I can't do like painting my face or like wearing crazy jumpsuits or like, you know, tights or things like that. Like I saw a guy who's dressed up as Peter Pan. I was like, nah, that's not my.
You got to be super confident in your body to go as Peter Pan.
Yeah.
What kind of vibes are giving off? Like I'm an endless boy. Like I'm a boy forever.
Never grown up, yeah.
Every girl wants to get taken home by Peter Pan.
Yeah.
That's not it.
Very interesting choice for sure.
I only like my Halloween costumes if they have abs. Like on the costume. Like growing up, I was Batman like 5 years in a row just because he had like the plastic six-pack on there. And when you're 5, you're like, I need this.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite play the same as a 30-year-old, but...
Yeah, that's just kind of douchey. I feel like the story I just told was a little bit douchey too. But.
No. You're a hot guy who got approached by a strange woman and got her number.
Yeah, we'll see, yeah.
We're going to have to follow up next pod and see how it went.
Yeah, that might not be too much of a follow-up. We'll see. But what has been your like best costume, you think?
The best costume I had was Guy Fieri, hands down.
Oh, yes. When was this?
It was, I think it's like pre-COVID, so like 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
Some of my friends of friends used to have this like crazy place in the West Village, and every year they would throw this Halloween party, and like it was awesome.
Yeah.
So it was my first Halloween dating Diane, and we decided like that I would be Guy Fieri. Mm-hmm. I don't have a beard. Everyone can see that. So naturally, it was a good opportunity for me to go blonde.
Yeah.
Get face paint drawn all over me and a beard.
Oh shit! So you went all out.
I went all out. Yeah, I went all out. Got the fake tattoos, the fire shirt.
Love it.
But like I'm the sweaty guy, and there was a lot of people. So as soon as we got to the party, all the sweat just started to melt my paint on my face, and I looked like I just like motorboated chocolate. It was not a good look.
Just
like,
sloppy.
The pictures were great.
Yeah.
At the start of the night, but seeing a broken guy,
yeah,
Fieri, Asian guy fairy sitting in the corner at the end of the night. Like, had to be sad. But I think that was my favorite, most recent one. I also made my own Up costume. So I went as the little kid from Up.
Oh,
the Wilderness
that's
Explorer.
great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's probably the one that I put in the
That's
most
a cute
effort
costume.
for. Dude, I did the arts and crafts myself. It was awful.
So wait, what happened? It seems like you were like really into Halloween.
I was single back in the day.
Oh.
This was at work. When I did the Up costume, it was at Yelp way back when.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, we're doing Halloween.
So you had the FOMO.
I'm out there. Yeah.
You can't just be that too cool.
Right. That's me now.
Yeah. Well, okay. I feel like people who are in relationships, like someone is into Halloween in that couple, and they like make the other person like do a couple's costume. So like that doesn't happen today.
So last night I went out with Di, and we didn't dress up for Halloween because she's dressing up later. And she was like, oh, I kept asking her the whole day, like, hey, if it means something to you, I'll dress up. Like, I can put something together real quick. I'll go as like a chef or something.
Yeah.
Put on an apron, something quick. And she's like, no, I don't care. And as soon as we went out, she started noticing the costumes. I'm like, you obviously care that everyone's Halloween. Like, I feel awful now.
Yeah.
But no, she appreciates other people's costumes.
Yeah.
I don't think she loves Halloween for Halloween's sake.
Okay.
One of my good friends went as me for Halloween one year.
Ooh.
Tough scene.
You can't. Yeah, you can't be. Wait, what race was he?
He's white.
Oh yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that.
He can never run for president. I love this guy. He can't run for president.
What is? What was his costume?
He was being a fratty Asian.
So like, did he?
There's a lot of squinting going on.
Oh my god. That's so bad.
It happens. This was before Instagram. This was pre-Instagram. Everyone was just figuring out the internet. Yeah. I love this guy to death. Like, I'm not mad at him at all. But yeah, I own him.
Yeah, you've got the ultimate. You have like a Kodak picture of him, Polaroid.
I think Mark Zuckerberg does.
Ooh, it's a Facebook.
Yeah, person. I went as Psy one year for Halloween when Gangnam Style came out.
That's a funny costume.
I had a Gangnam Style all night. It's too much.
You just had to do this all night.
All night, I got this red like fruit punch drink spilled all over me. Kept it moving.
Yeah. Were people like do the dance?
Yeah.
All night?
It was clear that I was Psy. I was fat too, so it just made it even better. A skinny Psy isn't getting it done.
Yeah, I guess you have to have like the body type to pull it off.
Sure did. I love to play a game in New York. Is someone like high fashion, or are they just disheveled or crazy? And I don't know. Like it goes so many different ways. Like in Brooklyn, Brooklyn chic, you look like trash a lot of times. Like I don't know what is high fashion and what is cool and what is trendy and what is out.
I don't either, and I feel like baggy's really in, but it also doesn't. Like I don't want to wear that.
We just came from the baggy era.
Yeah, like I feel like seeing like pictures of like LeBron James when he was drafted, like all those guys just in like super baggy suits. I'm like,
it's a horrible
that
look.
Doesn't look good at all. But
it's not for us anymore. We're not the demo.
Yeah, I guess we're just getting older.
But I mean, I will say like I do appreciate when people try that stuff out.
Yeah,
like people who mix it up a little bit. Like I know I've started to buy baggier pants.
Have you?
Yeah, it's not life-changing. They're just fucking baggy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I can't keep buying clothes to keep up with fashion trends.
Is that part of your New Year's resolution?
Up
your style game?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, I think it is, actually. Yeah, I mean, good segue, because the question for today is, what the fuck do you do for New Year's resolutions? So...
I'd like to kick this one off.
Okay.
Shrey, do you know, or where do you think New Year's resolutions started? Take a guess.
I feel like there's some like old like tradition from some country where like New Year's resolutions was the thing.
Where in the world?
Italy, like Rome.
That's a good guess.
Yeah.
That would be wrong.
Okay.
So I actually looked this up beforehand. New Year's resolutions, the earliest indication of the concept of new decisions on New Year's came from the Babylonians 4,000 years ago. Back in the day, New Year's resolutions were invented as a way to pay debts to the gods. So over the course of a year, people would have debts. People would like do disservices to other people.
Yeah.
And New Year's was their time to like repent for their gods. So that's where it starts. There is a religious backing to it. The Romans were the second culture to have like a defined New Year's resolution. So you were almost right,
Almost
but
got there, yeah.
wrong.
Wait, so what did the Romans do?
I think very similar to the concept that we
It was
have.
like a tribute to the. Oh, okay.
Oh, it was definitely a tribute to the gods, but I think it was conceptually just like ways to get better as well for the gods.
Okay, interesting. So, what are New Year's resolutions to you?
To me, it's a loaded question because I think New Year's resolutions just have a bad PR marketing team more than anything. I think when people think about the idea of New Year's resolutions, there's that inherent belief that you always fail your New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just a chance to get a fresh start on the new year, not throw out everything that I did over the past year. It's just like ways to refocus heading into the next year. I think the times when I've struggled most on New Year's resolutions is when I was really leaning on those to be like critical.
Yeah.
It's how I built my next year.
Right.
For me, they're like little gaps that I'm trying to fill in my life nowadays.
Okay, so they're not as like big, meaty, ambiguous things. They're just like
right, like they're not like, oh, I want a 12-pack right now. I'm like, dude, you don't have a 2-pack right now. So it's like, it's little things. I think talking to people about this episode beforehand, like the biggest drop off I heard was just like people are biting off way too much for their New Year's resolutions. Right, you're setting the bar way too high.
Yeah, I think that's why it gets a bad rap for people like failing, is because I don't think people do a good job of like coming up with realistic goals or like milestones.
I don't think people take the time to do that a lot of times. I think that I do think the most successful people that I've talked to, self-improvement is not like a one-day thing where it's not time-based, right? You can't operate one way and then January 1st rolls around, start a new leaf. That's wishful thinking more than anything, right? So I think continuous improvement, self-improvement is a constant in order to make that successful. I think if we are relying on New Year's resolutions to be our end-all, be-all, it won't work.
And I think I approach New Year's resolutions kind of similar to you. Like, I actually have a friend. So he calls his mom every New Year's Eve. That's cute. And I was like, oh, that's really sweet. And he was like, yeah, it's kind of like our tradition. We've been doing it forever. And he was like, we do it because whether you like it or not, New Year's is a time to reflect. And you reflect on how this year went, and you talk about maybe what you want to do for the next year. Right. And for me, it's kind of the same. It's like I like to look back on the year and like, okay, how did this year go? Mm-hmm. Like, was this a good year? Was this not a good year? And really try to pinpoint like, well, if it was a good year, like why was it a good year? If it was a bad year, like why was it a bad year? Mm-hmm. And that I think it can be tricky because I think people either you have like a recency bias of like the last 2 months sucked, right? And so like this year sucked,
totally,
or like this year sucked, but I don't even know like why. Like why was I not feeling good, or like what happened? It's hard to like nail down sometimes like what is making something good or bad.
For you, how do you go about that exercise of like creating your New Year's resolutions? Do you have a set process? Like, take me through it. January 1 hits.
So it's interesting. I think it's changed over the years. When I was younger, it was kind of just like, what's just like one thing that I can do, one or two things that I can do to actually improve? And it would literally be things like, I'm going to drink more water every day. And I would just think through like, well, how do you do that? Like, what is enough water? Like,
that's a really basic resolution, by the way.
It is, but it's also like something I think about, like, how do I actually commit to it? and I like try and like make it something that I can like live up to every day. But it's like what you said, it's like something really small, but it actually has like a pretty big effect. Um, these days, I actually take New Year's resolutions very like it's like a thing,
Okay.
almost like how companies do
Like retros?
like retros and like the New Year planning.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of do the same thing
Okay.
where I just think about like different aspects of my life,
Mm-hmm.
career, personal, financial,
Mm-hmm.
and I just think about like, well, where's ultimately where I want to be, and like what are like things that I can do to kind of improve upon that. So like financial might be like, okay, I had this type of financial habit in the past year. I want to like save this amount more. And what are things that I can do to actually like do that? Okay, I can cut down on eating out or door dashing. I can, you know, cook more at home or whatever. Like just kind of break it down to more tangible things.
For you, do you think that more of your goals tend to be tangible, or do they tend to be intangible?
I think there's some that are intangible. Like there's some like
Because it's hard to like do a New Year's resolution. Like, I want to be happy. Like, what does that mean? And chasing that seems difficult.
I think for stuff like that, I try to still break it down to tangible things. So I will have like a resolution like I want to be more like vulnerable, or I want to like be more happy or whatever, or I want to get a little bit better doing more uncomfortable things.
Mm-hmm. You are doing that.
Yeah, but I try to break it down into like, well, what are just like baby steps that I can do.
Mm-hmm.
So like last year, like one of them was like, okay, like maybe I'll start going to therapy. All you have to do is just find a therapist. I mean, I know that's not like, I made that sound like it's not that big of a deal or not that hard, but like that's the task.
Right.
That's the step to.
I mean, operationally, that
Yeah.
is the step to go do that.
Right. And or maybe it's like reading something like books on this,
Mm-hmm.
or I don't know. I always try to break it down into like very tangible things that I can do.
I love that. I do the same thing, and a lot of people that I really admire also break down their life into different pillars.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you have, just like a company would have a mission statement, like key traits that are a part of that. I think that it's good to do the same thing with your life, right? Like in order to get honest with yourself, or in order to get organized with yourself, you have to get honest with yourself, right? And so it's hard to just take a look at someone's holistic makeup and then make improvements on that. So you do have to create some pillars or create some categories for you to like invest into. Like for me, what you just talked about resonates with me completely. It's very similar to the way I do my thing. For me, on New Year's resolutions, I break down like things that I did really, really well last year. Things that I wish I had done better. I do think that when people tend to make New Year's resolutions, they tend to look at their past year through a negative light. So I think that they are starting way behind. We're not starting from scratch every time. Unless you are starting over completely. Even if you are, like, you're starting from some place. So it's helpful to like throw in some positives in there for me. Like this is what I did well. These are things that I wish I would have done better. For these things that I wish I'd done better, these are my action-oriented steps in terms of how I'm going to get there. Right? I think turning it into less of a resolution and more of a plan of action. Again, it sounds very intense. But like if you are serious about creating personal change, you can't play a guessing game with it. You have to have a way to track it. You have to have a way to understand what you're working towards.
I think you said two things there that I think are really important. I think one, just reflecting and thinking about positive things is huge because it is easy to look back and say, well, there's these 10 things that went wrong this year, or I don't like this about myself. And maybe there was actually 20 other wonderful things that happened in your life. And those are things that you can remember going into the next year. And I think like the plan of action is like key. And like, I think you need some sort of accountability, whether it's somebody who is holding you accountable or like you are tracking things yourself,
Mhm.
or I don't know. Like I actually use like it's a little bit of a psycho thing, but I use this like planner where every week I look at my resolutions and goals.
Mhm.
Like even in September of next year, I do it.
Mhm.
And then I also like just track some of the action oriented things like, did I do this? Did I not do this?
You're looking in September of next year and working back from there?
No. I'm saying like September right now.
Got
I'm
it.
still looking at like the resolutions I set back in January.
Just like once a week, once a month, check in.
Yeah.
I do the same thing. I did
Yeah.
it this morning. I mean, maybe we're doing this episode, but like
Yeah.
I do it all the time too. It's like I think you have to remember your resolutions more than anything. You can't just make them once, right?
Right.
Nothing gets done.
Yeah. But that's where I think people fail, quote unquote.
Mhm.
Like I've talked to people like, oh, like do you have any like New Year's resolutions? They're like, I don't do that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And they just think it's like really dumb. But I think it is like a way of like it's just like improving yourself.
I find that approach very, very naive, and I also find it in some ways very egotistical.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe you're not like, I just like, if you can't be honest with yourself
Yeah.
and say like, hey, I want to improve on these things, you're lying to yourself. Like everyone, no, like I don't think even the most emotionally secure people
Yeah.
are in lockstep with their heads 100% of the time, or like a perfect version of themselves, right?
No.
Like it's that pursuit of something better, not that expectation of perfection.
Yeah. And I think also, I feel like our friends are actually like very like-minded in that we all have like we all are evolving.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually talking about this with Jake,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like pretty amazing that like we're all friends from high school still.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's pretty rare. But like he was saying, I think the reason for that is like we don't live in the past. Like we're all like evolving and we're kind of like doing it on our own journeys, but still like there's friends for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're all like kind of going in the same direction, even though like our lives don't look exactly the same.
Right.
And I think that's key. Like for people who are like, oh, I think New Year's resolution's bullshit. Like, I don't know. I think being around other people who are like always improving might change your mindset of like,
Totally. No,
New Year's
I
resolutions.
completely agree. And I think whether you are an extrovert or an introvert, I don't think it matters. I think that self-improvement, you need to take inspiration from some other place, right?
yeah,
It's very, very rare. I would argue that it probably doesn't happen that often that people are solely intrinsically and internally motivated, right? That seems like the vast, vast minority. So like for one way or another, we are taking inspiration from the people whose lives we like around us,
yeah.
right? So it is, I mean, I talk about this with Diane all the time. It's triangle theory, right? We
Yeah.
are very, very blessed to be in a position where all of our friends are going this similar direction. It's not always like that, right? So it's like, how do I get myself around people who are going the right way?
Right.
How do I create relationships with these people that allow me to like learn from them and go with them? But I do think like your environment plays has a ton of impact around how effective you are going to be at self-improvement.
For sure. Yeah. I'm also curious, like, I feel like one of the things that I always had a struggle with when I was younger is I would blame the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So if something wasn't going well in my life,
Mm-hmm.
it would be like, oh, well, like, it's because of like this, or like, this is happening to me. And it's always kind of like, this is happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I'm trying to do better is like, okay, I get like some things happen that are out of your control,
Mm-hmm.
but what can I always do to like kind of take control of the situation, or like for me to kind of improve? Did you ever like have that like struggle of like, because I think that's also why people have a hard time with New Year's resolutions.
Right.
It's like, well, like, you know, this is happening, so I can't do this. And like, you know, this is working against me. And it's kind of like looking,
I know what you're talking about for sure. I think just growing up the way we did, I think my dad and my mom they didn't know they were doing it at the time, but you ever hear of that concept of like extreme ownership, where no matter what it is, like, I am owning my problems.
Yeah.
Like nothing is happening to me. Like it is me who's in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
That's how I grew up. But they didn't have like labels for that kind of stuff. It was always like, hey, don't make excuses. Like you can get yourself out of it through hard work, which is problematic in its own million different ways and kind of toxic. But it's like, it was never someone else doing something to me. It was, I am here.
Yeah.
This sucks.
Yeah.
How am I going to get myself out of this position? What are the steps that I'm going to take to actually get out of here? So I totally understand why people have that like thought process and that way of thinking. That wasn't how I was raised.
Yeah.
I think it gets me in a lot of trouble nowadays too.
I think I think it can work against you sometimes, but for the most part, I do feel like I think it's bad when you like start projecting on other people. Like, well, you just need to like do this, and you need to also have some empathy for like people's situations, and they're different from yours.
Totally. I do think that people minding their own business is a lost art.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just like doing your own thing and like, let me just do my job and not getting other people's like shit.
Yeah, I think that it's just like, I think that oversharing has become a thing nowadays. And there are huge, huge benefits to talking more, being more vulnerable with people.
Yeah.
But I do think keeping your eyes on your own paper.
Yeah.
Or like keeping your eyes on your own money.
Yeah.
That tends to like pay dividends because you're just focused on like yourself and what you can control.
Why do you think people do that?
What do I think they do? What? Focus on other people?
Yeah.
Insecurity? I think it's like we all have things that we want to work towards, right? Whether it's that house, that promotion, that car. Yeah. And a lot of times we look at other people's stuff as a way to make ourselves feel better about why we aren't where we're at. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that totally makes sense. I think also tying back to like New Year's resolutions, I think that's why it's hard is you look at, well, Justin's got this car. My New Year's resolution is I'm going to get that car. Right. That's not you can't just do that. That's not how it works. Right. And also like why you're wanting to do that is a big question. Like, are you doing that because you actually think it helps you, or are you doing that because
it's a cool thing to do?
It's a cool thing to do. I need to be like on the same level. And I think like one thing I've learned is like I might have friends, they're in different states, they've accomplished something, and maybe I'm not there, but like it's not like sometimes it's just like you're just on a different path or a different time. You're not behind though, if that makes sense.
I hate the concept of being ahead or behind for your age because like realistically, right? Shrey, if you became quote unquote successful at 45 or 48, what's the fucking difference?
Yeah. There really is no difference,
Right? There's not, and I guarantee you when you've made it at 45 or 48, you're not going to feel like you've made it, right? You're always chasing that next plateau, or that next version of yourself, chasing that better version of yourself. Yeah.
And I think, it's just like how do you just do things for yourself? And that's hard, I think, in today's age where like you're just always surrounded by like what other people are doing. But it's like you just always have to ask the question, like, is this for me and what makes me better, or am I doing this because I'm just insecure?
Totally. I mean, it comes down to what your motivations are. I would say step one, be honest with yourself. Yeah. Right. If you're constantly lying about why you're doing stuff to yourself, you're not being real. Yeah. So be honest with yourself and then go from there. Get a plan.
Yeah. And I do think kind of on the flip side is like, I do like to learn from people of like how they did something. Like, I don't know, if they did get a promotion or they did, I don't know, they just seem like they've made some improvement. If it's something that I'm also aligned with on like, hey, I really want to like improve myself. Like, Justin, how did you do this? Like, what did you do? I think that's helpful. Just kind of learning different tips and tricks. And I think you have to take things with a grain of salt because like everyone's situation is different. but there is an opportunity, I think, to learn from people without comparing yourself.
Totally.
But again, it kind of ties back to like if that's something you want to do.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I do think I would add, like, in order to learn from people, you have to be brave enough to ask them, right?
Yeah.
Most people, if someone's an asshole or someone's a dick, they're not going to help you. They weren't going to help you anyway. But like most people are not going to look at it as a zero-sum game. Right? You will run into some people who will, but most people, if they're asked to help, generally speaking, will help you.
Right.
Especially because it's no sweat off their back, right? It's
right.
monumental to you in terms of the impact that you're getting.
Yeah.
But to them, they already know it. So it's like, it's very, very easy for them. So yeah, be intentional.
Yeah.
Get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Be like Shrey.
Be like Justin. Well, okay, actually, one question for you. You're married.
Mm-hmm.
So do you do New Year's resolutions like as a couple or like plan things together?
We have goals together, but I don't think it's really aligned to the idea of New Year's resolutions. I do think I've made personal resolutions to start this year. I know Diane had her own way of doing it. She had a really, really interesting way of doing it where she broke down a resolution by month. So every month would be a different focus.
Yeah.
1 month would be wellness. 2 would be like fitness. 3 would be reading. 4 would be financial, right? So breaking up your resolutions across different months. I was talking about this with her beforehand because she did her own. It's very, very different than how I do mine. She's like, it was really helpful to do that because it helped me weed out the resolutions that I was just making for eyewash, right? She found out very, very quickly which resolutions and which pillars of her life were very, very attainable and doable, and which needed more work, which ones were wishful thinking. So she broke it up month by month, but it's personal.
Yeah. Okay. Do you guys though do like if you have like a personal resolution and it requires maybe an adjustment from the other person to help support and accommodate that, do you guys like have discussions about that? I mean, like,
I think you have to.
It could be even simple as like, I just want to like travel more and see more of the world. And it's like the other person needs to kind of be on board with like, okay.
No, totally. I think even like to take something that's even less sexy than travel, just like savings goals, right?
Yeah.
If we have a set amount that I want to save or that we want to save as a couple, and like if I'm spending too much money, I need to tell someone that this is my goal, and I need to tell them I'm going to kind of walk it back a little bit, right? So there's a ton of communication that happens when you're with a partner, for sure. I think the more transparent you can be, the better.
Yeah. Just like, have you ever had like a situation where like you have to readjust your goals?
In terms of like a joint goal?
Mm-hmm.
I would say this year is one for sure. I mean, we have a savings goal, and I think we should hit, but we definitely had to adjust the timing on that because of the sheer amount of weddings and wedding-related travel we have this year, right? If you average out that every wedding will cost you plus or minus a couple hundred, like $1,000.
Yeah.
That shit ain't cheap.
Yeah.
And so it definitely had an impact on how quickly we were able to save and like those savings goals. So like, you need to stay on top of it for sure. Like things will pop up,
right?
And your best laid plan, there's always some kind of deviation. Like it never goes as smoothly. So yeah, it's like sticking to those pillars, committing to them, but communicating effectively when shit hits the fan.
Yeah. It's always funny. I always try to set like a budget for like the month or the year. And then there is always something that pops up that's like, oh yeah, this is gonna throw this off.
Right.
Like, oh, I gotta buy this like groomsman suit, or like I gotta do this like trip or whatever. And then I'm like, okay, this budget's kind of fucked.
It was nice while it lasted.
Yeah, it was nice while it lasted, but yeah, that's interesting.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you have or did you have any big New Year's resolutions this year?
So my New Year's resolutions were I wanted to start going to therapy. Okay. And that was kind of I think that was more actually around relationships.
Okay.
And I felt like, you know what, I really want to start understanding myself. I feel like I have insecurities and anxieties that can kind of block me. and I want to kind of start working on that. I wanted to finish some music, and I think I should by the end of this year, but that was like kind of side project stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I had a savings goal. I wanted to read 2 books this year.
How's that going?
I'm midway through the second book, so I think I should be able to finish that
In record time.
in record time. Yeah. What are the other things? Oh, I wanted to play. It's kind of maybe a dorky one, but I want to sign up for a rec sport every like 3 months, every like quarter or whatever. How's that going? I've done it. I've played like
Volleyball, basketball. What else?
volleyball again, skee ball.
I mean, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel
A lot
on
of
sports.
volleyball. A lot of volleyball. Well, it was more like I don't drink anymore.
Right.
So I don't want to base my social life around just going to the bars.
I get it.
So I wanted, and like I enjoy playing sports. It's like I like being active. I like doing stuff like that. So the goal was really like socializing and doing things centered around things that I like.
Mm-hmm.
And just meeting people and like not being inside and stuff. And so again, like going back to how you break it down to an action plan, just sign up for a sport. And that just gets every week there's something to do.
I love how action oriented you were about meeting your resolutions.
Yeah. I do that actually at work a lot. They'll be like, I don't know, we have a presentation in a week. You need to put this thing together. And I break it down to like, okay, first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to put together like an outline. That's just one thing I can do for the day.
Mm-hmm.
The second day, I'm going to like put in bullet points of like what I think the content should be.
Right.
The third day, I'm going to start reaching out to people and getting them to fill in this stuff. Like I just kind of break it up. Otherwise, it's like, oh my God, I have to put together this presentation. Like that seems really big and like kind of a tall task.
You're chunking it up and compounding your success.
Yeah.
You're like getting momentum with it.
Yeah. And that's actually like, for me, like when I start getting like little tasks done, I start getting like hyped up.
Start cooking.
Yeah. In high school, I used to write things on a Post-it note, and I would just get so much satisfaction crossing it off.
Oh, I still enjoy that.
Yeah. So I use like a to-do app now where I don't do it on a Post-it note.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of like, here's the things to do today. And it's a combination of things I need to do for work, things I need to do for like my health, things I need to do for just personal side projects, even things I need to do for like, I don't know, social things like, hey, I haven't talked to Justin in a while. Like to do like reach out to Justin and see how he's doing. So yeah, I just like to break things down into like, these are things that you can do and chunk it up to where it's like feels very actionable and you're making progress.
I think that's great advice for anybody who's listening, is just like take your big scary problems and make them smaller problems that you can handle.
Yeah.
And then you put yourself in the best spot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we were talking about this a little bit earlier in the conversation, but starting over. Have you ever like formally or like thought like I want to like reinvent or like start over?
Totally. I think it's, I can't speak for everyone, but I think for a lot of dudes, like you have different moments of your life that require you to start over, right? It sounds so fucking stupid, but like for me, that moment came when I was done playing sports, right? Growing up, we all were super, super active. We played a ton of sports. We were pretty decent at those sports too.
I was a god.
Right? You were a god. I was okay. But I think it's like when I came up to New York, I came up to play baseball. I thought I was hot shit. And for me, like my core was like, I'm a baseball player, right?
It was like your identity.
This is what I love. This is who I am.
Yeah.
I do the kind of things, like my day-to-day involves everything baseball. And I think I struggled really, really quickly and to a large extent when I got done, right?
Yeah.
As soon as I was playing, I definitely had a void in my life. Okay, I don't go to practice anymore. I don't play anymore. Now who the fuck am I?
Yeah.
And I struggled, candidly. I got super depressed.
Yeah.
But I do think starting over is something that's universal, and I think it means different things to different people, right? it's a very humbling moment.
Yeah.
Starting over, and I wish I had someone to help guide me through it.
Yeah.
But I am glad that I face those struggles myself to a weird degree. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's just like I feel like dudes latch on to a couple different identity archetypes.
Yeah.
For a lot of us, right? Maybe there are people who are super, super, secure of themselves. But for a lot of dudes, we just latch on to whatever's there and to whatever our friends are doing. So I definitely have had to start over. It's messy.
Yeah.
For me, it worked out in the end, I think.
Yeah. So was there like a specific point in time where you were like, okay, I need to change or start over? And then, I mean, did you do anything like practical? Like, okay, I'm going to stop doing this, start doing this.
Totally. So for me, the change to start over initially started with a physical change. So when I went into college, I was playing at 195 to 205 pounds, and I was like a good, I was in shape college athlete. When that got done, I started taking a bunch of testosterone boosters and drinking Bud Heavies, trying to get strong as shit.
Yeah. Cultivating mass.
And you remember those years, I was fat as shit. I think I got up to 230 from 195 to 230 in less than a year. And for me, the starting over came when my grades were in the shitter. My mom told me that I looked like one of my other family members who's not the skinniest. And she's like, oh, you look like X.
That's tough when your mom says it.
Yeah.
Because moms usually just have unconditional love and positive things to say.
And she's like, oh, you're so cute and fat. I'm like, this is fucking terrible. So I knew at that point, hey, I can't do this. This doesn't scale well. I need to get things turned around. So I'm not saying I did it in the healthiest way, but I was in New York interning. I was interning for a commercial real estate company, and I just went into a summer of being a fucking monk, trying to get my weight in order, trying to get my life back in order, because I was a fucking depressed, drunk mess.
Yeah.
During those years, and I definitely do it in a healthy way.
Yeah, yeah.
I wish I would have.
Yeah.
But it was that moment of, oh shit, I need to make a change. If I don't make this change, what does that look like? Yeah. That's awful. Yeah, so let me take steps to go ahead and do that.
Got it. Okay.
What about you? Have you ever had to start over?
I think there's been points where I definitely feel like I need to make some drastic changes.
I feel like you do that all the time.
I think I'm always trying to improve. Right. I think so. Right after college, I think in college senior year, I guess I don't balloon up, but I get skinny fat. But I was eating out every meal, never cooked a meal.
Freshman 15, man.
Yeah, but it was kind of I feel in high school, I was playing basketball and super active. Right. So I could eat 2 Wendy's burgers, go play a full game of basketball.
That's
and
light work.
Be very skinny, right? So I think that kind of carried into college where I could ride off of high school habits. Mm-hmm. But when you just start drinking all the time, eating out all the time, you're not as active. It does kind of start catching up. Still not if I were to do that now, it wouldn't be as bad. But by the end of senior year, I was I don't know, had a little gut. Was eating out all the time. Wasn't really working out. And when I started work, I was kind of okay, I need to start working out. Mm-hmm. Still didn't really get the diet thing down because I was eating out all the time. Mm-hmm. But I think that was a point where I was okay, I kind of want to change what I'm doing. I think when I was 25, I remember basically 22 to 25 is college, but you now have some income.
Oh, it's dangerous.
It's dangerous, but you're still I'm still going out Thursday or Friday or Saturday.
You have more money than you've ever had in your life.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not much, but.
And I just remember at 25, I was just kind of hungover and it's just a little bit sad because I was like, I don't know, I don't want to do this, but at the same time, I don't know like what else to do. This is all I know how to have fun. And I didn't really make a change. It was I kind of like started cutting back a little bit, but it was like I think that's been gradual.
Mm-hmm.
I think COVID was actually the big one though, where I feel like right before COVID, like I felt like I was kind of thriving, like going out, having a good time, whatever. And then COVID happened, and it felt like all my social life got nixed. And then it was like, whether I like it or not, I have to really think about like what I'm doing.
You had a forced restart.
And I thought when COVID was kind of like ending, like when people were getting vaccinated, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna like revert back to what I was doing before. And it was just like, this isn't the same.
3 years had passed.
Yeah, well, yeah.
2 years had passed.
2 years, yeah. I mean, even like I moved to New York,
right?
And that was kind of like, okay, like going to New York, like let's have like all the fun that I was having in Austin, but like let's do it in a new city. And I think like I did that for a while, but it was kind of like, I don't know, like I just like, this isn't the same. I feel like I'm still struggling with like I think deep down I don't really want to do this kind of stuff, but like I also don't know how to like change it.
You literally had started over in a new city and you didn't know like what was what.
Yeah, I think moving to a new city, I thought like some of the maybe like insecurities or problems would just naturally go away that I had in Austin, but they didn't. And then it forced me to be like, okay, changing cities doesn't like change you. You have to kind of like make these changes on your own. And so honestly, like, I mean, you might say like in the last year or whatever, like I'm super like about like changing and like improving. That mindset really only started like at the end of last year.
I mean, it seems crazy to me that it just started end of last year, because I think that you've been really, really dedicated towards your self-improvement and to starting over, right? Like, I think that you've put in the work.
Yeah.
And you've tried a bunch of new things.
Yeah.
And you're being very active in figuring out what this new Shrey likes and doesn't like, and you're committing to the things that you like, and you're getting rid of the things that you don't like. I love it.
Yeah. And I think the big thing is like, I've always kind of struggled with like, what are other people doing? What do other people think? But now I'm starting to get to the point I shouldn't be doing this just because other people have done it this way, or like they think this. Like deep down, when I do something, I kind of know if I like it or don't like it. So like go off of that.
That is, like, I was listening to this podcast. You listen to this, the Diary of the CEO podcast, and I think the host Stephen was talking to this guy Michael Easter. Yeah. And they were talking about, in order to like create and facilitate change, there has to be some requisite level of pain that like catalyzes that change or makes that change happen. And whether that is truly bottoming out, which I think is relative and looks different for everybody. Like, I do think that there is some level of dissatisfaction or insecurity or frustration that has to happen to create like meaningful change. Yes. Because like people, if it's not broke, they won't fix it. People are lazy by default a lot of times. So it can be very, very hard to create and stick to starting over. Right. Unless you're going through it.
Yeah. And I would even add on to that of, I think once you do kind of experience that like frustration or pain, for me, like part of the ways I can kind of be a little bit more disciplined is tapping into that. Like if I stop doing this habit or this thing, like I know what it's going to be like if I go back to like the original state. Right. And so I think in that way it kind of helps. But I don't think it has to be like, I don't know, lost my job, I'm doing drugs, and like I've hit like absolute rock bottom for me to be like, okay, now I'm going to like do these things. Like it could just be like, you went through a breakup. Right. Now I need to figure out what I do in the next part of my life. I lost my job. What do I do next?
Right. You would hope that you don't have to hit rock bottom, but the bottom is different for everybody. So it's like,
Yeah.
I also think rock bottom is different in different moments.
Yeah. I also think I think there's an absolute rock bottom. Like you're just doing some really bad stuff. But I think like we tend to think we've hit rock bottom when we haven't.
Yeah. I mean, I think we catastrophize. And I think that people are very, very self-critical a lot of times.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not one of those people who's like, suck it up, dude. Like it's
No,
okay.
no, yeah, no.
But I do think it's like people need to be honest. I think that we underemphasize gratitude, self-gratitude for what we have. So you think that you have it worse than you do. Mm-hmm. But you don't take the steps to change it. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I do think gratitude journaling is also really, really good.
You do?
I've been trying to do it, but like I think it's good just to like say things that you appreciate about your life. It's hard though.
It's like I know people who do it and swear by it. For me, like it does feel kind of woo-woo, like kind of hippie-ish. But if it works for you, it works for you, right? Yeah. Like I'm not hating on that at all. I think that writing your thoughts down in general is overwhelmingly positive. Unless you're writing horrible shit, then keep that shit to yourself. But yeah, I think centering oneself around gratitude, generally speaking, is super positive.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
We got deep today.
We did. New Year's resolutions starting over.
I have a question. When you and Trout do these podcasts, are they this deep?
Yeah, we get. Fuck. We were talking about like getting into a rut, and I think it's kind of like, how do you like get out of it? It's like kind of somewhat similar conversation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, you want to have deeper conversations than me and Trav?
Yeah, obviously.
What about when you and Trav do podcast episodes?
Haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Haven't done it yet. I think we're like, this was my first step in trying to like do a hostile takeover of the podcast. It's going to become a solo show, just slowly and surely. No, but I think it's good to talk about these topics because like it's something that's universal, right? Yeah. Like everyone wants to be a better version of themselves. Yeah. More often than not. And how you get there is important, and dealing with the trials and tribulations that come with self-improvement. Yeah. It's not a smooth game. Yeah. All right. Maybe more of a fun question. Hit me. What's like the wildest like New Year's resolutions you've heard from people? From people? Get engaged is the craziest one I've heard. But you don't really have control over that unless you're the person doing the proposing. So I don't. Were they in a relationship? They were in a relationship, and that was the resolution. And I'm thinking to myself, oh yeah, like I hope it happens, but like I don't think you really have much of a say in that unless you like give this person an ultimatum. Yeah, that's one. Like, I think like get a partner, get a boyfriend, get a girlfriend is always a weird one to me, just because like why are you actually trying to do this? Yeah, right? Like are you doing it for other people? Or are you doing it for you? Yeah. I don't know. Mine was weird this year. I wanted to like hit my like fitness records one last time before I just pack it in for the rest of my life. Before you like give up? No, like I wanted to hit like a PR in a mile time and a PR in like a deadlift or a squat just one more time. Okay. And then I'll never ever try to do it again. Oh, okay. All right. Interesting. I failed. You didn't come close. Like one of mine this year was like, I ran 1,000 miles last year. Let me run 2,000 miles this year, and then I quickly was like, that's fucking terrible. Like I don't want to do that. Yeah. For no reason. Anything else, Shrey? I think that's it. Yeah. Great episode. Yeah. Happy New Year's, everyone. To anyone who's starting their 2024 resolutions, good luck. Write them down. Listen to Shrey. But yeah, I think that's it from me. Love it. Yeah. Make sure to follow us on Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, the whole gambit. Peace.